Morphic resonance is a connection across time from the past to the present. And it's a process that occurs between organized patterns of activity on the basis of similarity. What it means, in effect, is that each species has a kind of collective memory.
According to biologist Rupert Sheldrake, collective memory is inherent to nature. Living systems have a collective memory of all past experiences of the entire species. This memory exists in an invisible but real energy field. Our collective memories are still there, but since the dawn of modernity, they mainly break through in supposedly fictional stories, e.g. in Tolkien's Lord of the Rings universe. Tolkien wrote down his story, rooted in Germanic mythology, during the First World War, at exactly the time that can be recognized as the final destruction of the old magical world. World War I marked the beginning of the civilizational descent into soulless modernity. Perhaps Tolkien had to write down his vision of Middle-earth because the human psyche cannot survive without a connection to reality, even if this connection is maintained via supposedly fictional stories. It is interesting to note in this context that fantasy stories are also an invention of the Industrial Age. It was only around 1850 that fictional novels became suitable for mass consumption. Could it be that people were not interested in immersing themselves in dissociative worlds as long as life itself was full of meaning and conveyed a higher purpose? The more hostile and cold our society becomes, the stronger becomes the urge to escape into imaginary worlds. And as these imaginary worlds are fed by our collective memories, it is this repressed energy which breathes life into them. With the destruction of religions by so-called science founded by secret societies, people were deprived of one of the last connections to the past. But the truth wants to come to light again, and it will eventually resurface. Enormous efforts are being made to keep humanity asleep because our potential and true power is almost limitless. Industrialization. During the course of industrialization during the 19th century, far-reaching social changes occurred in the Western world. The extent of these changes has not yet been adequately understood. Aspects such as rural flight, mass impoverishment, orphanages, lack of hygiene in the cities, and related epidemics are known in historical research. But these are only the effects of the Industrial Revolution. A more elusive topic has been the question, what caused the massive technological upheavals of the 19th century? So far, the two most important questions have not been answered sufficiently. Why did the Industrial Revolution begin in England, and why precisely around 1800? If you break it down to its essence, the Industrial Revolution consisted of groundbreaking technological inventions that permanently changed social life and enabled increasing automation of production. In particular, the development of the steam engine supposedly laid the foundation for the further development of electric and internal combustion engines, which form the foundation of today's society. The Industrial Revolution presents us with a conundrum. In terms of the official narrative, humanity bumbled along at a low state of development for thousands of years, only to suddenly undergo a massive leap in development within a few decades without any apparent external cause. To make matters even more absurd, since the end of the Industrial Age, mankind has again found itself in a period of technological stagnation. The supposed inventive spirit of Central Europe and Germany in particular, which historians say made industrialization possible, seems to have vanished. The role of the United Kingdom is central to understanding what was really behind the so-called Industrial Revolution. In historical research, it is commonly believed that the Industrial Revolution began as early as the mid-18th century, around 1760. In fact, however, little evidence can be found to support this claim. According to various historians, Cameron, Adams, McCloskey, there is no evidence of industrialization in contemporary literature as late as 1830. We must assume that the ruling forces backdated the course of the Industrial Revolution in order to somewhat diffuse its explosive character. In fact, the new technological knowledge was unleashed on humanity within a few decades by a small elite operating primarily from Rome, Vatican, Venice, London, and Washington. The true Industrial Revolution comes closest to what is commonly referred to in research as the Second Industrial Revolution, the phase of rapid industrialization beginning in 1860. What is being sold to us as inventions was, in all likelihood, a controlled release of technologies that were widely available and powered by free energy before the reset. Free in the sense that everyone had direct access to the energy source. Only this time, the difference was that the technology was tied to scarce and hard-to-get resources, allowing the ruling powers to gain a monopoly on the production of goods. Since the Industrial Revolution, the worldwide generation and production of wealth has been controlled by a small group. Along with the control of the fiat money system through central banks, the scarcity of energy has been the most important element in controlling the masses. This process is reflected, for example, in the conflict between Tesla and Edison, or Tesla and Einstein. If, in reality, the Industrial Revolution did not take place until well after 1830, we are talking about a period of 50 years, roughly 1850 to 1900, during which the old knowledge was reintroduced in modified form. Not coincidentally, the first major World's Fair was held in London in 1851. Officially, much of India's knowledge is said to have been wiped out by a genocide of Indian scholars and a series of invasions over the course of the last 1200 years, but evidence suggests that it was British colonialism that significantly mutilated India's culture. In 1884, the Washington Agreement enforced the worldwide time system according to Greenwich Mean Time, which had been introduced in the British Empire in 1847. Sometime between 1700 and 1850, a worldwide cataclysm occurred by which the unified culture broke apart and most knowledge about free energy and high culture was lost. People were collectively thrown into a dark age in which they began to focus on survival and experienced a period of suffering and deprivation. The now dominant power elite, upon coming to power, reintroduced some parts of the old knowledge to change society in a way that suited them. This time period is known to us as the Industrial Age. This power elite has its roots in the Roman Empire. The countries of the Western Roman Empire gradually became huge economic and warlike nations. Italy, Venice, Portugal, Spain, France, Britain, the Netherlands. The first financial center was established in Venice, which was later moved to Switzerland. All those who did not want to submit to the church were killed or fled towards Germania. The approach of the church corresponds to the tactics of the Roman conquests. The church then divided the territory and set up its own administrators in these areas. The subsequent emergence of the high nobility, all of them loyal to the church, can be attributed to this. The Roman army was at one point dissolved and divided into knightly orders. Germany, as a stronghold of Protestantism, was able to resist these ecclesiastical forces a little longer, but was also taken over at some point, as was the Muscovite Tartary, the former empire of the Scythians, which was taken over by Russia. Since then, the European powers have all been controlled from behind the scenes by the cabal, and they managed to make it look like Britain, Germany, France, Portugal, Spain, and Russia were competing with each other. But they were actually working together. The Hohenzollern and Orange-Nassau noble families simultaneously controlled Britain, the Netherlands, the German Empire, as well as the Russian Tsarist Empire. The Habsburgs, funded by the Fuggers, controlled Central Europe, the Vatican, and parts of Western Europe. So the Russian Tsarist Empire was already in the hands of the cabal, moving from Prussia to Russia, and Russian history was written in the 18th century by Western European academics, who also occupied the most important positions in the newly founded Russian Academy of Sciences. The Russian Empire was then deployed to destroy the Great Tartar Empire. The heart of the darkness lay in Western Europe. It was a race against time, for most of the world was just recovering from the reset, and all the Europeans had to do was get a few of their people on ships, get them quickly to the ruined kingdoms, kill or expel or manipulate the rulers, and proclaim a new political system.